G'day guys, new patch, so let's talk about some of the changes. First, let's start with the positive. The game still works. For the first major patch in about 6 months, they've managed to release it without any serious game critical bugs, which should be the bare minimum. But hey, we'll take what we can get with Behavior. So good job Behavior, you've not broken the game pushing this patch. Let's all give Behavior a round of applause for actually pushing a patch without breaking the game. Next up, overall I think the changes are mostly neutral. By that I mean there's an interesting amount of changes for both Killer and Survivor, where one side hasn't clearly been shafted, which is nice to see, and some changes are pretty good. Others, not so much.
Absolutely saucy, lads. Never mind, he's got 45 fucking pallets to use. Yeah, you're right, baby. This is a quality of life change.
What are you supposed to be, a disappointment?
So let's start with what's probably the title. The increased pallet density as a quality of life change. Behavior. I don't know if you know what the definition of quality of life is, because this is not a quality of life change. What they've essentially done is for 10 realms, made every filler tile in the map spawn. The result is there is a pallet every 5 foot. It makes playing weaker killers absolutely miserable. What's worse is these are the realms that they have changed. Now you might be looking at these realms and thinking, why the fuck have they added more pallets to some of these realms? It's a great question. It's a question a lot of us are asking, but they did it nonetheless. Of these maps, I would say Coldwind Farm, specifically Thompson House and Haddonfield, needed some pallet spawn changes for survivors, and that's it. Haddonfield had a big problem. There was only like 7 pallets on the map, and of those 7 they fell into 2 categories: safe/god pallets or borderline useless, neither of which I think we can all agree are particularly fun. So to fix this, Behavior crammed the middle of the map with 450,000 pallets, chucked some around the edges of the maps, and then call it a day.
I think we did a pretty good job so far.
Now, if this was a true quality of life change, they would have improved other pain points, like how 90% of the killer roster can't pressure the generators because they're on multiple floors, which was the thing that kind of kept this map in check.
You suck. I guarantee I could find 1,000 scientific reports to corroborate that.
But they didn't do that. So now this map is back to being insanely miserable for Killer because you can't pressure gens and you're falling over pallets every 5 meters in the middle of the map. Next, let's get on to Thompson House. So this is the realm with, spoiler alert, a house. This map kinda sucked to play on Survivor because there was nothing in the middle of it. It was all along the edges, meaning chaining tiles became very annoying when your teammate used pallets in between tiles. Behavior dicked around with the jungle gyms again, so they're all different yet again. Then didn't seem to add anything. I don't know. I played on it as Ghoul and the number of tiles felt pretty much the same. I couldn't tell the difference. So the one map they actually needed to change, they didn't. Let's talk about the other realm, shall we? Crotus Pren was disgustingly survivor-sided on both maps. It needed serious nerfs. The last thing it needed was more pallets. So now these maps are fucking miserable. Now they did one thing well, and that's nerf the main building on Father Campbell's church, which is the circus map. It no longer seems to spawn those insanely broken windows. It does spawn windows, but you can play around them as a weaker killer, whereas before you would be forced to entity block them in a lot of cases, and it left you with no gameplay, so that is good. Unfortunately, they didn't do the same for Crotus Pren. They just put a bunch of pallets around the map, so main building is still insanely strong, and now you have way more pallets to deal with on a map that was already insanely survivor-sided. Yomoika, it was one of, if not my favourite realm for Killer and Survivor. It was consistent, fun, and fair for both teams. They've ruined it.
Oh, no, no.
There's pallets literally everywhere on this realm now, which sucks for killers, and as a survivor, it's super boring to have a pallet wherever you run to. I like to actually engage my brain when I'm playing the game, and running in a random direction and having 5 pallets to choose from is not fun nor engaging. Yomoika was fun for every killer, and now it's just Pallet Simulator. Ormond. This was Ormond before the patch. We have pallets literally everywhere. Someone saw this at Behavior and thought, you know what guys, there aren't enough pallets on this map. So they added even more. Every filler now has a pallet, and they added even more fillers. It's again miserable to play on, and so brain dead, even DBD Twitter might be able to escape on this map now. Now this map did need an adjustment, but what it needed was consistency, because what would happen is, like in the background clip, you'd have a million pallets in one place and then massive dead zones elsewhere in the map, so they needed to lower pallet density in certain places and then put those pallets elsewhere. Instead, they just made this pallet density on the entire map. Oh, and they also added what I believe is a god rock on this map now, so people claiming that they just made all the pallets weaker, that's just not true. In fact, I've seen more safer pallets now on these maps than I did before. It's just miserable. Okay, let's move on from the palette changes, which are obviously terrible. The new killer.
ฟ้าจะไม่สว่างอีกแล้ว
She's a wee bit overtuned. Now, is she Blight/Nurse Strength? No, she isn't. But she is overtuned. Mainly, it's her hitbox that's the issue. A character this wide, you would think her lunge hitbox would be something like this in width, which would be pretty reasonable.
No.
It's actually more like this. Meaning she gets hits through walls, on tiles, all the fucking time.
That's quite big.
Now, it was big on the PTB because she can hug tech. This is no longer the case, and the huge hitbox combined with a hug tech makes her hits insanely generous, and this is where the problem arises. On top of this, you can't feed your teammates the mushrooms directly, meaning that she's Nemesis 2.0 in terms of tunneling. Only worse, because she has map pressure and you can't use the mushroom on your teammate. You have to drop the mushroom, and then they have to pick it up and eat it. So to fix her, make her lunge a lot narrower, and when you unhook someone, it should be at like 1% infection, a bit like Wesker, so she can't just slide across the map at max 17 and instantly down you off hook. Do these things and she'll probably be fine.
Do it!
On the topic of tunneling, the off-the-record change. I'll be the one to say it, it needed changing. 80 seconds of endurance is absolutely ridiculous and should never have been a thing in the first place. That being said, I think it's actually stronger now. So instead of endurance, it now hides your scratch marks along with all the old effects. The reason this is stronger is because conspicuous actions don't deactivate its effects at all, meaning you have a permanent 80 seconds where you're essentially invisible to the killer. So I've been using this, then running off to a corner, self-caring, and then jumping on a generator. This massively nerfs the S tier killers because they all run barbecue and have a 40-meter terror radius, meaning not only can't they find you off the hook because of your no scratch marks, but the 40-meter terror radius makes pre-running the generator when you've reset really easy, so they won't be able to find where you've gone because of the no scratch marks. Then it also hides you from perks like Nowhere to Hide, making it even less likely to be found. It also hides you from the next barbecue proc because the perk will still be up and it works in the end game. The one place it's nerfed is if the killer is proxy camping you, and Decisive Strike is a much better perk for these situations for anti-tunnel. It's insanely strong right now, and if people stopped freaking out for 5 seconds and actually tried it, they might understand just how strong it truly is. Next up, Moisty Myers. Remember how everyone was saying, oh, it's a PTB, it's just for feedback when people complained about it? Well, they took all of that Myers feedback and did sweet dick diddly with it.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like some of us have worked out they don't listen to any feedback regarding reworks on the PTB. Ask me how I know. Sorry. They did one thing. The old Myers add-on is now a green add-on instead of an Iri add-on, which is nice. However, that's offset by the fact that they made tier 3 40 seconds now, which is way too fucking short, and you still have the shitty animation going into tier 3. So you're still weaker playing the older Myers than you were before when it needed buffs. Not to mention, all of the tile changes now make him incredibly unfun. Using his new dash, it still feels like arse. Behavior keep trying to gaslight us into saying it's more of a lunge. It's not. You have limited movement, you need to charge it, and it has a fucking cooldown. Pig's Ambush is more of a lunge than Myers' new lunge. Buff his tier 3 duration, remove the stupid animation going into tier 3, and for the love of God, remove the dash cooldown. It's not that difficult behavior. The new perk from V, Ghostwriting, also made it into live untouched. Again, yet another example of behavior ignoring PTB feedback on overtuned perk. Just like Made for This, just like Buckle Up for the people, and just like the breakout changes, or Botany, or basically any perk they've ever touched because they never actually listen to community feedback when it comes to perks.
I think we did a pretty good job so far.
Flint Dicker, and you're watching the fucking news.
I tested Ghost Notes off stream with my friend, and for some reason, it wasn't as strong as it was on the PTB. No changes to the perk are documented in the patch notes, so this is either a bug or it was bugged on the PTB. I don't know, but it's not the same.
Pretty good job so far.
Dracula's add-ons still got nuked as well, so now he has even less usable ones. So basically, everything that wasn't the anti-tunnel/camp changes got ignored. So the next time someone says to just wait for live and not get mad at a PTB, including the developers themselves,
wish more people accepted the PTB for the reason we do the PTB. People get really upset when certain changes are in PTB, and the whole point is we want to test those changes. and they react as if it's a live change. I wish there's a little more balance there, because like that's our chance to actually see. Does it work? Then if it doesn't, we're going to change it.
So that was a fucking lie.
Just ignore them like behavior do to all of our feedback. Look, I get it. They do listen sometimes to some things, like buffing Krasue, delaying the anti-killing changes, but therein lies the issue. The selective process in which they dictate what they listen to and what they ignore. Most of the changes I've complained about in this video that they ignored, literally nobody asked for, such as the Maya's rework, changing pallets on 10 realms, instead of like the 4 that people are consistently complaining about, dumpstering Dracula's add-ons, etc. You're doing changes no one's asking for and then ignoring the feedback when we tell you that they're stupid. It's just silly, and it does seem like I hate the patch overall, but every other change I think is either good or they didn't really do anything. For example, auto recovery on the floor is pretty nice. Clairvoyance being buffed by 2 seconds, nobody gives a shit about. I think overall, compared to the past year worth of updates, this is probably one of the better ones, even if there are really dumb changes in it. But hey, at least I managed to play for 2 days without running into a single bug, which is more than I can say for the past 6 months worth of patches, where it's taken me 30 minutes into a gameplay session to break the game. Anyway, that's the quick patch notes rundown. I'll see you when I see you. I'm gonna go back to having an existential crisis and playing some Silent Hill or something. I'll see you next time. Bye for now, gamers.